Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation with WRAL's hidden history reporter, Heather Leah, we're exploring one of North Carolina's so-called seven wonders. It's called Shangri-La. Okay, so Heather, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
First, we need to define what do we know? I mean, I've heard the term before, but what does Shangri-La mean in terms of not this beautiful place we're going to talk about in North Carolina, but in general?
So in general, the concept of Shangri-La, as far as my research has shown, dates back to a 1933 novel called Lost Horizon by an English author named James Hilton. And Shangri-La in the novel, it's a fictional place, a fictional novel, but it was enclosed in some mystical mountains. The people who lived there lived almost eternally. They were almost considered immortal, living hundreds of years. And from that, Shangri-La has come to really just mean any mystical utopia
on Earth. Paradise on Earth.
Paradise
basically.
on Earth is Shangri-La, and it's here in North Carolina.
We've got one. So tucked away in a rural part of Caswell County, the town is Prospect Hill. There's this really beautiful miniature stone village, appropriately named Shangri-La, very intricate. It was created by a tobacco farmer. For those of us who've never been there, just give us a feel. Describe what this looks like.
Yeah, so first of all, Shangri-La is the right term for it. It feels magical just when you walk on the land. You can just feel the sense of peace. The buildings are made of stone. The stone was quarried from the earth by Henry Warren. That was the tobacco farmer, quarried by Henry Warren himself. And at the time, he was dying of cancer, but he was using his retirement years to build this beautiful Shangri-La for himself, his family, and the world. The buildings, when we say it's a miniature stone village, I would say the buildings are slightly taller than me. So I'm 5 feet tall.
So they're like playhouses.
They're like playhouses.
Would that be a good way to describe it?
Playhouse size, yeah.
Right.
So you can't walk inside because they're just carved of stone, but you could fit inside one and when you walk the streets of Shangri-La, there's stone-covered streets. There are 27 buildings. He was meticulous. There's a school, a church. There's a body of water in the middle of town with a windmill in it and a water mill as well. And then there's a jail. There's a hospital. I believe there's a hospital, or it's possible the hospital was the last building he was working on when he passed away.
So,
but there's a lot of buildings.
You mentioned he was 75 years old when he started this, 1968. I mean, this is something really major to tackle in retirement. How long did it take him to do this?
So I want to first of all point out that he was untrained. You know, he was a tobacco farmer, and he just worked on this for the last several years of his life. He was 75 years old. This was in the 1960s. And so this place has stood the test of time. It has stood for over 50 years. And he just worked on it until he died. We spoke to, I believe it's his daughter, possibly his granddaughter, but his family member still lives on the land. And if you visit, sometimes she'll come out and talk to you and tell you about Henry Warren and everything that he poured into it and what his family has done to keep it up.
Do we know why he did it?
So I'm going to make a guess. Hearing about what Shangri-La is, that it's paradise on earth, and it's where you are immortal and where you're carefree. I would imagine, and again, I don't know. I mean, she said that he did it just out of love for building something beautiful and enduring. Speaking to his family member on the land, she did tell me that he built it for neighbors, for people to visit it, and he actually carved a quote. It says, "Let me live in the house by the side of the road and be a friend to man." So she has talked about it as something enduring that the community could enjoy, just a place of magic for people to visit.
So kind of a gift in a way
gift
to other people. Now, did he call it Shangri-La?
Yes.
So he named it.
Yes. Yeah. And I have to wonder personally, seeing that Shangri-La is this enduring place from a mythological place, I have to wonder if he knows that he's passing away of cancer. He wants to leave something behind, and he's creating this a legacy, a paradise, a place of immortality, a place where maybe his life could continue to make an impact on the world
to make people feel good when they come and see it. Well, we're going to talk about that when we come back from the break, how you can go to this magical place. We'll be back with WRAL's Heather Leah. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with WRAL's Heather Leah about Shangri-La. No, it's not the fictional place in Asia that was in a book, but it's a place right here in North Carolina. So you mentioned that this is really set up like a real town around a water source. I mean, explain kind of how that looks. I mean, I'm picturing, one of those miniature train villages, if you will, on a big table where the train's going through the little town, snaking through it. Is that kind of what this looks like in a larger version?
It does. And you can walk the stone streets, and it's got the buildings are about as tall as a person. So you really do feel like you're in a town. It's a miniature town because it's obviously not as large as real buildings would be, but they're sizable. You kind of feel like you're small and you're in this little town. The other thing is he was very creative. You can see today there are inhabitants of the town as well. And I know one is there's a little black French bulldog, not a real one, a statue. There's little quirky statues and quirky pieces everywhere.
That he put out there.
That he put there. He would find them at, rummage sales and things like that, little antique shops.
It's like a Where is Waldo?
Yeah. So it's very fun. It's more than just beautiful. And by the way, there's a throne that you can sit in, like a life-size stone throne. There's staircases. So he really tried to make it something fun and whimsical. And again, he quarried the stone from the earth himself at age 75.
Right. So this is really personal.
Yeah.
And do people leave things there? I know you're talking about the trinkets. So I've heard, I read in your reporting that people also leave a little something.
Yeah. So if you go, you'll start to notice little beings that live all over the town. You might find a little rubber duck or a little Minnie Mouse or just little toys, little fairies, just little magical. And they're peeking, one is in the jail peeking out. One is there's a little, on top of the church, there's a little place where you can set things. There's little towers and balconies. And there's just little toys left behind by the visitors. So when you go there, you can leave something of yourself there in Shangri-La. I have certainly left a few things there. There's also a guest book where you can sign and leave a memory there. So it clearly was meant to be something that you visit, but that you also kind of leave something of yourself behind in Shangri-La.
So you're part of it now. And I guess you don't know what he put there and what visitors have put there. So it's kind of all, it really does sound like a little fairyland to me when I think about it.
It is. And I'll tell you one other thing. The butterflies, they've got these plants there that attract these magical, translucent, purple butterflies. And they're just filling the air in the springtime. It really does feel like there's magic there.
It sounds like it. So tell us, for people that are interested in seeing this, where they go and how they can see this.
Yes. So you can go to Prospect Hill. And in fact, if you put into your GPS, if I put in Shangri-La Stone Village,
it comes
up. But if you're needing more specific directions, it is very close to a road by his name, Henry Warren Road. It's right there at the corner of Henry Warren Road and Highway 86.
And are there specific times of day? Do you need tickets or you can just go?
So from what I was told several years ago when I visited the first time, but the woman who still lives there, she just welcomed people to come see it.
Can you see it from the road? I mean, is it the kind of thing if you're driving by, you would say, oh, what's that?
It would be hard to see. You can see it from the road, but I will tell you, when we went out looking for it the first time, We drove past it several times looking for it. So
you kind of have to know where it is.
Yes, it's right beside the fire department, though. So if you see the fire department, and then there's a big stone tower by the fire department, that's sort of the entryway.
Okay.
But it's in her yard.
And how far is it from Raleigh?
About an hour. So it's honestly a place where you can just take a little day trip, go out there, be very respectful, obviously. I mean, this is something that's very sacred to this family, you know. But be respectful. And the times that I've been, I've seen people out there really all the time just taking a look around. He wanted to be a friend to man and let people visit.
It sounds lovely. Heather, once again, thank you for another fascinating look at North Carolina's history. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. If you like what you're hearing, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or on whatever podcast app you use. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news, events, and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.